here in rainy Louisiana, right on the outskirts of New Orleans. And we've got a special guest tonight that we want to introduce to many of you that are listening in. Many of you know Mr. John Blair, some of you do not. A lot of you that are coming on are newcomers and maybe have not had the opportunity to meet John. So we want to make sure you get a chance to meet him on a personal basis. Again, my name is Kerry Daigle. My wife Mickey and I are PMD Plus is here in South Louisiana. I've been with the JuicePlus company since 1989. And we do a series of calls called the Legends of JuicePlus. And of course, we all know if there ever was or is a legend, John Blair is one of them, without a question. So John, welcome to the call tonight. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you, Kerry. My pleasure. I noticed we got another legend on the call tonight. I think Elton is with us. Good to see you, Elton.
Aha, Elton Dubois. Yes, sir. Our good friend. Well, John, first of all, many of the listeners have heard your name and know you're a previous vice president of sales, marketing, product, and research. And you retired as a senior vice president. And if I'm correct, the only person to be a senior vice president with our company. And now you're a shareholder. If you don't mind, for the newcomers, would you mind sharing a little bit about your background before JuicePlus?
Well, thank you, Kerry. Great to be with you and Mickey and everyone on the call tonight. As most of you know, I grew up in Southern California, where I'm calling from tonight, and went back east to college at Dartmouth and then got my MBA at UCLA. Started off my career at Price Waterhouse and then left there after 9 years to do the turnaround of Yokohama Tire North America, which was basically a bankrupt company at the time, doing about 25 million. And in 4 years, we had them at $100 million and making money. They went on to have a consulting practice in mergers and acquisitions. And that's where I met the guys from Memphis, who were, the company was called NSA, or National Safety Associates at that time. And we'll let Kerry ask questions about the rest of the story.
Well, I remember also following you as a nationally ranked handball competitor, and actually we watched you compete quite a few times. And presently, for everyone that's listening in, John is in the Handball Hall of Fame. And if you're wondering what handball is, I'm going to get John to maybe explain a little bit more about handball. But John, I was familiar with handball because of Jimmy Jacobs. He was a guy I knew very well, Mike Tyson's manager, and he was exceptionally poor. Would you mind sharing a little about your involvement with the sport?
Sure, Kerry. I played football, baseball, basketball in high school, and then a little football and baseball in college. I actually got drafted a couple times into the major leagues, once by the Dodgers out of high school and then by the Red Sox when I was in college. So when I graduated college, I needed something to do just to stay active, and handball was a great solution because there was a YMCA not far from where I first went to work, and you could get a good workout in an hour, and I was really fascinated by the game you play. It's like racquetball indoors, 4 walls with the ceiling and all, but you're playing with both hands. And so it takes time to learn to be ambidextrous, to be good. And you mentioned Jimmy Jacob. He was, in my opinion, one of the 2 or 3 greatest players of all time. And I had the honor of playing Jimmy a couple of times. He lived in New York City when he managed Mike Tyson's career.
Yes.
But he grew up in Los Angeles. His mother lived in Los Angeles. And so Jimmy would come out to LA, and I was the champion of the LA Athletic Club at the time. And he was always looking for a game, to put on a little exhibition for the local players at the club. And so I got the honor of playing Jimmy a couple of times to be to be his opponent in an exhibition. When I say exhibition, I mean he was something else.
Well, at least well, you have the honor of being able to share some time with him in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, he's an amazing guy and very bright and a tremendous athlete. Just a good person. I think when Jimmy died is when Mike Tyson sort of went, took a couple tumbles there in his career. Jimmy was sort of Mike's godfather and a very steadying influence on him, and a good man. So we all miss him. Thank you.
Yes, he was a great guy. Custy Amato passed away, and then Jimmy did, and Bill Caton took over his career, but it was never the same. Well, John, was handball? Well, what was really your sport of choice?
Well, probably baseball was, and most guys my age, played baseball growing up in America. It's still one of my favorite sports, and so growing up it was probably baseball, but of course, handball was something to do, later on in life, and then of course came golf. I got a little hooked on golf, and it's still play a lot today and try to cycle, stay in shape, work out, but it's just important, I think, just to exercise and keep moving, keep busy.
Well, for those of you that are listening in, John's been a little humble, actually. I've attended some of his matches, and John was quite a player. He's won a few national championships, and when I watched him compete, I was like, whoa, man, this guy's really good. Well, I enjoyed that a whole lot, John. John, let's talk a little bit about the inception of JuicePlus into our system. It was designed actually to be an extra product, but not a lead product initially. We were focused, as you mentioned earlier, on environmental and educational products. And that was in 1993. It was so unique, but at the same time, a big question mark. Now, what were your thoughts at that time about JuicePlus?
Well, as you know, Kerry, in the late 80s and early 90s, the company National Safety Associates was going gangbusters. In fact, I think 4 years in a row was in the Inc. 500 fastest growing companies in America. And I got involved with the company as a consultant behind the scenes at that time, but had concerns about the sustainability of our model, our marketing plan, which we'll talk about a little later in the call, and became very friendly and attached to Jay and the other partners during this process of consulting. And at some point, talked to Jay about the sustainability of the business. And his feeling was, well, we're so busy. We got a tiger by the tail here. You may be right. We may hit a bump in the road, but we're awful busy hanging on to this tiger. So why don't you come on board and work on options for the company going forward if something does happen. So it was my job behind the scenes to look at products. And if you think about it, we were in the environmental business. Then we were putting together a major education company, childhood education company, and I was looking at the business of health and wellness and nutrition. And even today, if you look at healthcare, education, environment, I mean, the company was really on the path of major developments of importance to the nation. And honestly, Jay was not real excited about nutrition because NSA at the time was pretty unique with the environmental filtration business, and so many other companies in direct sales were already in nutrition. You had Amway, Shaklee, Mary Kay, New Skin, Herbalife, and all of those. And understandably, he did not want to appear to be a Me Too type of company. And I totally got it. But there were some key distributors like Jeff Roberti behind the scenes that had my ear, that were strongly in favor of a consumable product that our reps and customers could buy over and over and over. And that kind of made sense to me. So Jay and the others and Elton and the other partners agreed on 3 conditions. One, that I find something that was totally unique. 2, that it wasn't exotic, like from the rainforest of Borneo or something like that. And then 3, that it'd be a product that actually worked. And I think Jay put those conditions on, I think he'll never find anything like that, so that he could rest assured we wouldn't be in the nutrition business. But as it turned out, we were looking at juicers as a possibility, because they were an appliance like the air filters, the water filters, even like the fire prevention system, all about the size of a basketball, all cost about $200. And it looked like a juicer would just plug and play into the marketing plan. But in that process of looking at juicers, we came across a fellow by the name of Smokey Santillo, as you know, who was a naturopath selling juicers at the time, that had this other idea. He said, if that doesn't work out, if that company you're looking at, if you don't do that deal, he said, I've got another idea where we could do this on a large scale and produce these powdered produce, these concentrated juice powders that you could mix into that cool, clear, filtered NSA water, and voila, we could reconstitute and have the value of the fruits and vegetables right there in a glass of water. Well, as you know, unfortunately, the first blend was the vegetable, which is cabbage, kale, parsley, spinach, tomatoes, carrots, and broccoli. And when you mix those powders in with water, in fact, we were all sitting in my office. They put a scoop of that in a styrofoam glass with filtered NSA water. And I swear, well, what Jay said was, Smokey, this looks like mud to me. And then he took a taste of it. And Jay's sense of humor, he looked at Smokey, he said, Smokey, I think actually, if we put a little mud in it, we might all be able to improve the taste. Poor old Smokey's head was down. He was really discouraged. And in the process of putting the education company together, I had met Mark Ledoux and his family through his mother, who had an education product. And Mark had also proposed that we look at a nutrition product. And so I knew what their business was. And so I said to Jay, well, maybe we can put it in capsule and eliminate the taste. And his question was, well, can we get enough in there to do anybody any good? And my answer was, honestly, I don't know. But we can go into the lab and test it and see what's in it to find out. And actually, Carrie, I think at that moment, that was sort of the seeds that were planted for what ultimately became our clinical research program. We wanted to know from science that we were selling something that was really worthwhile.
Yeah, we got so many great stories of Dr. Santillo at that time, and when you had the helm at JuicePlus, and when it was actually brought into the company, it's just amazing what happened from that point on. But a lot of people don't remember, that are probably listening in right now, or don't remember because they weren't involved. In the beginning, we would retail the twin pack and we deliver it. And then we had no studies at that time. We had no research of any kind. And then we graduated to an orange box of JuicePlus, and we'd retail it the same way. And we'd also deliver the box personally, before one day we pioneered the idea of the preferred customer. And it slowly became noticed by corporate that the field was selling the heck out of these twin packs. And many veterans who are still with us today know exactly what I'm talking about. Would you mind sharing your thoughts of this transformation, John, and the reasoning to going to the 4-month supply? There's so many stories here.
Well, yes, I'd love to. There were 2 things happening at once. One, we were converting the product line, because it didn't take long Elton and myself, everybody else at the company, and Jay, we were all having great benefits, and our customers and reps were having benefits, but it took time. It didn't happen overnight. And so on the one hand, we wanted people to experience JuicePlus for at least 4 months before they made a decision and not be expecting instant results. And the second thing was that one of the reasons that we went in a new direction was because the previous marketing plan had been basically focused on the opportunity, or almost exclusively on recruiting, and dare I say it, on money. And the problem is when you have ups and downs, which will happen to almost any company out there, the distributors, when the money and the opportunities started to decline a little bit, just panicked, and they were ready to run off to the next new deal. So it was important to the partners that we make some changes so that the business would be more built to last. And part of that was first becoming product-based and then mission-based, so that people were attached to the product and the mission, regardless of the temporary ups and downs in the business. They were hand in glove, a consumable product and a change in the marketing plan that was more focused on the long term and being built to last.
Yeah, those were some interesting days. I remember too at the beginning, we also started sponsoring several physicians into the system here in the South. And one in particular, and of course, I'm going to bring this name up, you're going to smile when you think about it, Dr. Barry Bone, an ophthalmologist, an eye surgeon, who became the first doctor, the first physician, medical doctor, to make national marketing director with JuicePlus. And he kind of led the way to many more medical professionals joining us throughout the country. I believe that led us to the clinical research. I'm not quite sure about the history there. How did that help us, John? And why did we start the clinical research at that time?
Well, first of all, we hit our 25th year in the business. We're now over 50, Carrie. Talk about built to last. And in order to help cement the new approach for JuicePlus, we had 3 teams. We had Jay and Pam Popper and a fellow by the name of Dr. Roby Mitchell, Dr. Fit, who, by the way, passed away this year, sad to say, in the Pacific Northwest. We had Elton and Linda Castle and Dr. Sidney Krakauer, which you recruited on one team, and myself and Smokey and Nyla Mason were the 3rd team. And we were out almost every weekend of the year explaining and promoting the new marketing plan. And then we would come back into my office on Monday morning. Jay and Elton and I would sit there, talk about what did you hear? What seems to be working there? So it was a collaboration between ourselves and the field in terms of the pieces of the puzzle that helped the new marketing plan become successful. And a couple of contributions, this is where Jay is really brilliant, was putting the $20 retail in the pocket of a brand new distributor every time they got a customer, so they would have some money right out of the gate. And also the idea of everybody buying at the very same price, the preferred customer price. Even before JuicePlus, Jay used to go on the stage and talk about when he was in the pots and pans business and he sold to his mother, she paid the very same price as everybody else, which of course disarmed anyone who was concerned about price. So those aspects were critical. And then what happened is within the first year, at almost every meeting, we would talk about the product, we talk about the company, we talk about the opportunity, and then people would come up and give testimonials. And I'm telling you, it was fun at first to hear these fantastic stories about how people were getting healthier. But as the meeting went on, I don't know, human nature, the pressure of being up on the stage, every story had to seem like it got a little bit better than the one just before them. And we started to get nervous about, I mean, we were excited that people were attributing these improvements to JuicePlus, but we were worried that these claims were making us look and sound like everybody else in the business. And since we had already done some science on JuicePlus, Jay said, well, why can't we let's do some more of this and eliminate the testimonials. I remember the distributors, Bob Burdick and others, thought we were crazy. What do you mean no testimonial? So we're going to replace it with science, to the point where today we don't make any claims unless we've got 2 valid, world-class, gold standard clinical studies that actually support the claim, such as a reduction of oxidative stress or improvement of cardiovascular factors. And we became the first company in the industry to actually have science-based claims 100%. And even today, there is nobody that comes anywhere close to JuicePlus in terms of bona fide, gold standard, published clinical research from the greatest universities and research centers all over the world.
Well, let's dig a little deeper then, because later, of course, we had not only our first published study or a couple of studies, which you were very instrumental in starting. 2 questions, John. Why was it important to educate users the difference between borrowed research versus our research? And also, fast forwarding, you became involved with several boards and several organizations to add to the credibility of our product line, including NSF certification. Could you elaborate on those items?
Yeah, well, of course, as the research came out and we've got enthusiastic reaction from the medical community, like Dr. Bone and Dr. Krakauer and Dr. Rick Du Bois and many, many others, some of whom are on the call tonight, we got really excited about doing more. Let's see what, and at that point, everyone was coming to JuicePlus. These universities and research centers were coming to us to see, how about considering doing JuicePlus research with us on this topic? And we were really confident of the performance of JuicePlus. And so, that became a differentiation point between us and everyone else, and really drove the focus of the JuicePlus company. From also helped from the standpoint of someone, there weren't nothing artificial, there weren't stimulants, there weren't any other ingredients that gave people an immediate reaction, particularly a healthy person. So the research gave them the confidence and belief that I am getting benefits from this product, even though I may not feel something right away, to stay with the product until the benefits came for them. I mean, if somebody's really healthy, it takes a while before, but all of us had great reactions to the product. It just took a little time, and the research gave people the confidence to keep taking it, because they knew they were doing something good. Science was telling them they were doing something good for themselves, whether they felt something immediately or not.
Now, the boards and the organizations that you were involved with, John, could you elaborate on that a little bit? And why was the NSF certification so important from your point of view? I know from my point of view, being a sports agent for 47 years, it's just cream of the crop. I mean, it's last I checked, and correct me if I'm wrong, there's 55,000 supplements in America, and less than 1% are NSF certified. Am I correct on that?
You've got to be in the ballpark. I don't know the exact numbers, but very few companies spend the money to get NSF certification, because most of them are competing on the basis of price to get on the shelves of Costco and Walmart and Walgreens and other big box retail, which is still the #1 method for selling nutritional supplements and healthcare support products. So for one thing, research is expensive. For another thing, when you're dealing with isolated, fragmented nutrients They're not absorbed into the body like whole food products like JuicePlus, because the body doesn't recognize them as food. In fact, the body recognizes them as out of balance and wants to flush them out of the system as soon as possible. And that's why when people take multivitamins or other products like that, you see the evidence of it going through their system the next morning in the toilet bowl. And so with the case of JuicePlus, number one, it got absorbed. So we know that the good things that are in that product from fruits and vegetables are actually getting into the body. That was really important. And just going forward, that became an essential part. Now, NSF, that was an additional test to prove the quality of the JuicePlus product done by a third party. Once again, you can stand up on stage and hype the product, but the research, the scientific research told our customers, this is for real. I mean, this is what this product is doing inside your system. Now, the question was, how about quality? You could stand up and talk about your quality all you want, but we went out and paid a third party, NSF, to audit our manufacturing partners and ourselves to prove to the public through their certification that when we said quality, we meant it. But it costs money, so it was expensive. And the difference was we weren't selling on price. We were selling based on quality. And we didn't have to compete in those venues in Walmart and Walgreens and Costco, et cetera, with those other products who had to be the low cost supplier or they weren't going to get the shelf space. So we early on committed to the science, committed to quality, and that again differentiated us. And we got the proof. And I'm not sure if many of those other products even spent the money on science that they would get the results. In fact, I'm pretty sure I know that they wouldn't. Now, you asked me about our boards. We did some years back, our top management did an analysis of, it called a SWOT analysis, strengths and weaknesses and opportunities and threats. We were building our strategic plan from top management. And when it came to threats, the number one threat was the unpredictability of government regulation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And what can we do about that? And I said, well, there are organizations out there that represent our industry that are connected with the FDA, that work with Congress. And the decision was made that one of us needed to join one of those organizations and get involved on the inside to have a little more control over what was going on and to also have kind of a early warning as to where the FDA was going, where Congress was going, et cetera, in terms of the nutrition industry. So in a sense, it was a defensive move. And of course, when I joined these organizations, and most of the people in the room did not even know what JuicePlus was. We were sort of flying high under the radar, as we used to say. And pretty soon when they found out more about us and about the clinical research, they were stunned. They were blown away by the fact that in fact, I remember at the time, the fellow that followed me as the chairman of the board, Harvey Camille, who had been the CEO of NBTY, which is one of the biggest product lines in Walgreens. He asked me one day about this research. He said, so this is like double-blind, placebo-controlled research? And I said, yes. He said, on humans? I thought he just couldn't believe it. That someone in the industry had actually done what everybody else was just talking about. So pretty soon we became extremely well respected within the industry for who we were and what we represented. And to this day, there's still nobody that even comes close to the investment in science and the success with science that the JuicePlus product has achieved and is still achieving, because there's lots of stuff going on behind the scenes as we speak.
Wow. Some great information, John. And John, also at that time, when we brought JuicePlus to the forefront, we also changed the marketing plan to make it easier to move products through the system. And
Yeah.
of course, as we all know, change is difficult. A new product, a new marketing plan, things were changing real fast with the company as they are now. And it created some challenges. Would you mind sharing your thoughts during those days and how it was just remarkable how you at corporate overcame those changes and the challenges right away and we started moving forward?
Well, as I said, you know, we worked on this for a couple of years, Elton and Jay and myself and others. We didn't have the answer immediately, but one thing we knew, we had to drop the level of qualification. The qualification in the old days was $5,000. That's a high bar for any organization. And secondly, we eliminated any possibility of buying to qualify. We created an atmosphere where our reps qualified, our partners qualified based on building a customer base, on repeat business with customers. And that was different. And, you know, I've got to give credit to a couple people here. One, there was a lot of skepticism on the part of our reps that this was going to work, particularly dropping the qualifier. And Wendy Campbell was the first distributor to ever reach national marketing director selling JuicePlus alone. And bless her heart, all she did was follow the instructions that were in the manual from the Silver Anniversary Tour and repeat over and over and over, building a customer base, getting her partners in her business from that customer base, teaching them to do the same, repeating the process, building it one customer at a time. And when Wendy made National Marketing Director, that got everybody's attention. That, okay, this is possible. And that helped tremendously. The other person I want to credit is Dr. Mitra Ray, because there was a time when we weren't exactly sure in terms of a marketing approach how to create a simple and duplicatable system. And Mitra was so popular, she was doing telephone calls virtually every night with her reps. And she asked me if we could do this tape. And we called it Call Me in the Morning. Don't call me tonight, call me in the morning.
Yeah.
And, basically, what it allowed is for distributors not to have to be experts. Basically, there were two kinds of tape. There was the cassette tape and duct tape, so that a distributor could say, look, I don't know everything there is to know about this. I'm not a health expert. I'm not a nutritionist. I don't have a degree, but I can tell you this product is working for me and my family. And you listen to this tape and call me in the morning and we'll talk about this, because I'm telling you, your family's going to benefit from this. So that freed distributors from having to be experts. And now it became simple and duplicatable, that anybody could do it with the third-party experts. And then Dr. Du Bois had a tape, and many other healthcare professionals had tapes. And so that really helped us move down that path. And I quickly got to tell you the story about about the preferred customer program and repeat business. And again, give credit to Jeff Roberti, because early on, we hadn't totally figured this out. And when our filtration business, our environmental business sort of went downhill a little bit, the industry association, the direct selling association, kind of dropped us like a hot rock. We were no longer the shiny new object that was blowing all the sales records. You know, we'd hit a bump in the road, and I kind of resented that. And so I didn't go to the DSA conference anymore. And Jeff Roberti called me up and said, look, there's a conference in upstate Michigan. I think it might have been Traverse City. He says, you got to go. I said, Jeff, I'm not going. You know, I've had it with those guys. He said, no. He said, listen, he said, we haven't totally figured this out. And you could see something there that could change it. He literally said this. He said, you could see something there that could change it. And I know when you, that if you see it, you're going to recognize it. And so I agreed. Steve Williams went with me, and we got a chance to do breakouts. And I picked a breakout called a repeat business, which heretofore was unheard of in direct sales. And I think it was New Vision that had a modestly successful program where they had repeat customers on an automatic reorder program. And I nudged Steve Williams and said, you know what? I said, this could work for us. I honestly believe we could do this. So I was so excited. I got back to the office. Jay and Elton in my office. I said, man, I got to tell you about what happened this weekend. And Jay looked at me like, are you crazy? Nobody can do that in direct sales. That's never been done. And I said, just think about it for a while. Just think about it. And about a month later, Jay comes back in my office. He says, you know, I got this idea. He said, I think we could actually sell this on a repeat business on a preferred customer program. Elton, you know this is the truth. And I said, Jay, that's brilliant. Let's give it a try. But it was Jeff that encouraged me to go to the DSA, and I saw this idea. And of course, when Jay gets onto something, he knows how to perfect it for the sales force. He knows how to make it hum. And once he got behind it and we started to do it, you know, we had a whole new business that had never been done before in direct selling. Automatic reorder, preferred customers, repeat business, like 100%. It was a totally different ball game than we'd had before. And we knew it was going to take some time, because it does. It's one customer at a time. But we knew we were on a path to being built to last. And that's what the company wanted from day one. They wanted to be built to last. And we've done it.
You know, John, there's so many stories and memories that come back as to how all of this business just started exploding and growing and growing and growing. I remember, and this is kind of funny, I remember we were just so successful selling the Duo, and many of us had this great idea that we needed to now sell the Trio, which was adding the berries. And we had to go into corporate, and we had 2 days of meetings before we could convince everyone that, hey, why can't we just sell these three together? And it was quite a challenge, but we all worked together to get it done. And we laugh at it now, looking at now selling the quad, and we have all these different packages. It's just transformation, learning along the way. Now, I want to, here's another little history thing, John, and this is something that you remember real well. You might have a good story here. I imagine you have a few. I remember when my wife, Mickey, was traveling across the United States, and she started doing these women-only meetings. And we actually got a phone call from someone that said, what are you doing? You're going to turn this into a Mary Kay. You know, she kept doing these women-only meetings across the country, and they weren't too well accepted by the men at that time. But for people that are just listening in for the first time, initially, we probably had 87, 88% were men partners. But it kind of flipped, didn't it? Now, you stood behind Mickey on that one. I remember that real well.
Yeah, it did flip. And it's normal. When you think about it, the NSA company had been unique. It had been mostly men. It had been an appliance, you know, a $200 product. It had been a full-time opportunity right out of the gate. And that drove us to amazing heights for 4 or 5 years. And we were the buzz of the industry until we weren't. But it was kind of baked in to the management how we were totally different. And the idea that we were going to be a company driven by women was very difficult to accept immediately. But when you think about it, who makes the decision about nutrition in the family? Who makes the decision about the kids and about her husband? And that's the woman in the family. And also, without a doubt, women women are fantastic networkers, and now we're finding out fantastic leaders. And so it was just a radical departure from what we had been before. And so it was a gamble, you know, it was a risk. And it was because it was so different, it was hard to accept. But once that tide started to turn, I'll tell you, it was life-changing for all of us, and exciting to see. And now, you know, we are a business that has no glass ceiling, that is just as powerful for a woman and the opportunity is exactly the same as it is for a woman, as it is for a man. In fact, I'd argue it's maybe tougher for guys to succeed in the business. And we're very proud of the fact that it's just, it was an interesting and difficult transition, but one that made us a much better company, a stronger company, and it got us to where we are today.
Well, you were a big supporter at that time. You were right there with us in the trenches. You were a listener. How many times we, as a group, many of the leaders throughout the company had the opportunity to sit with you, and we moved forward, and the rest is history, of course. I'm gonna rewind just a little bit more, John.
I gotta tell you though, with Elton on the phone,
All right.
so many people had so many ideas. And, you know, Jay would sit in my office, and Elton often with him for most of the morning, and calls from distributors would pile up. And Elton was the first one that said, buddy, you got to call these people back. you know, you got to engage. And one thing that really helped us was voice comm. We had the ability to leave messages for, and Randy Matthews was the voice of voice comm, but it enabled us to leave messages for each other and ask questions. And every day on the way to work and every day on the way home, I would download these messages and quickly be able to give distributors answers to their questions, which didn't take a whole lot of time on the phone, but really got us communicating much better, and making sure that we were listening and we were getting back to people.
You know, John, these legend interviews, one of my Legends interviews coming up is going to be Elton. So I'm sure we're going to hear a lot of different stories from another angle.
Make sure you tell me what night it is so I could get on the call.
All right. Now let's rewind a little bit here. Why is it important to rely on the 41 published studies versus testimonials? You kind of covered that earlier, but why is that still the most powerful part of our mission in promoting JuicePlus? I mean, that alone really changed the game for us from the beginning.
Well, Kerry, you know, someone considering starting a regimen of JuicePlus just wants to know one thing: is this really going to help? And you can tell them anything you want, but the science tells them what they need to know. You're going to get more antioxidants in the bloodstream. You're going to get a reduction of oxidative stress. You're going to get an improvement in your cardiovascular factors. You're going to get better reproduction of your DNA, and on and on and on. And I'll tell you, if I'm talking to you personally, Kerry, I don't know what exactly that's going to feel like for you, but I guarantee you give it enough time, you are going to feel something good. You're going to feel something positive. And that's the beauty of it. We can tell people with absolute assurance that they are going to be healthier and better off and get that momentum toward better health started in the right direction, that snowball rolling downhill, by taking JuicePlus with absolute assurance. And without that science, it's just, you know, my own credibility and my own feeling, but the science goes way beyond that. And nobody else has it.
And we're in a position where we can actually mention the science because it's third-party research, and that's something that actually we saw us grow and create a huge amount of momentum early in our career with JuicePlus because of the research. And we need to stick. I think we need to stick and stay with promoting the research is very important.
And you know, if you consider where our country and the world has been in the last 15 months with this pandemic, I know we cannot go out and make claims, and neither can anybody else. But in terms of protecting yourself and having a strong immune system and healthier biomarkers, I mean, who wouldn't want to have that as your best defense against any kind of cold, flu, or virus? I mean, it just makes sense. And so, once again, the research, so many of them actually mentioned and reported positive impacts on the immune system, that it just makes sense that somebody who's looking for an answer, looking to optimize their health, would try JuicePlus under the circumstances we find ourselves in right now.
Absolutely. And this research can really help us even grow faster and stronger if we really focus on the research and move forward with, especially during this health crisis that's going on. In closing, John, what are 3 tips from your vast experience at a corporate level that you could give to the audience listening in reference to our business overall?
Well, Carrie, we've touched a little bit on them tonight. First of all, if I were starting out in a new business, I would want to know that the product is first class. And we know without question that not only is JuicePlus a Cadillac of the nutritional support industry, but also whole food-based nutrition is the fastest growing segment, other than perhaps cannabis products, in dietary supplements. And so we are in the perfect place to take advantage of what people need and what they want. And the awareness of whole food-based nutrition and the need for it is so much greater today than it was when we all started 27, 28 years ago. So we are positioned with the world-class product, the world leader in a huge market. Secondly, you got a company that is not about hype, but stands on science, stands on facts, and stands on truth. And so if I were looking at a new company, I'd want to say, wow, that company's made an investment in their future, and they have invested money to prove to me that their product continues to be world class because the research continues on. So you've got that, and then you've got a business that is built to last, that has weathered many of the ups and downs that take other companies down. We have been there, we've been up, we've been down, and we'll come through because we are focused on the long term and focused on the future. It's not just about making money this year. It's about building something that will last for our distributors, their kids, and their kids. It is the focus of the company to be longevity and being built to last. So these are factors that I'd look at this and say, wow, these people know what they're doing. And we've just hired a new CEO, a woman, by the way, with an incredible resume from Pepsi and the vegetable meat company. And I think Stewart is someone who understands global branding, marketing on a global scale. And I am so excited that she is going to help take the JuicePlus company to another level because of her experience on the global stage. And so I think the company's doing all the right things, and hitting all the right notes in terms of continuing this great story for years and years to come, that we are all proud of being part of starting it, but the best is yet to come, Carrie, and we're all excited to see where JuicePlus is going to take us all in the future.
I think Stewart came from Coca-Cola.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I think you might be a Pepsi man, but you know, she came from Coca-Cola. Yeah.
Actually, I'm neither.
No, I'm excited, and so are many of the people in the field in reference to Stewart coming in and
Yes.
you know, and he's CEO. Got a lot of great things going on with the company. So, John, tonight we kind of had a chance to dig in and ask some questions that probably a lot of people listening in were not aware of. All the things that happened early on to be able to bring this company to where it is today. And all I can say to everyone that's listening in, we do have the #1 encapsulated research product on the market today. And as John just mentioned, no one touches us. There is no competition. And our company is over 50 years old with leadership that's taken us to the mountaintop. And now with newfound, fresh minds to bring us even further. And we know challenges will always be here. With a company growing as fast as ours and as strong as ours, history with new stories will be told a decade from now. Are you going to be part of it? We know, because many of us have stood with this company for 3+ decades and see history being made all over again. So remember this, and listening to John tonight, obstacles are those frightful things you see when you take your eyes off the goal. So we're going to see you on the next Legends interview. If you want to unmute yourselves and tell John good night, we appreciate it very, very much. Thank you for tuning in. John.
Thanks, John.
John.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Amazing.
Thank you so much.